What's going on here? All right, so it says we're live. I'm just refreshing the browser to see where we're at. And let's see. All right. Yeah, we're live. We're ready to rock and roll. All right. So we're going to, obviously wait a couple of seconds here till people start coming. Hopefully we get more than 3.5 people, which would be great. But today we're going to kind of rekindle what we used to do here. And obviously on the other end, out on the West Coast, I have Travis from Icarus Precision here. And we're going to kind of go through some of the things that they've been working on over the past year or so. It's been some time since we've actually spoken, but it's nice to catch up, see what you guys have been up to. I know you've had plenty of success. I mean, you're all over everything right now, let's be honest. So you've had a lot of good stuff with the aluminum lowers. I know there's an interesting thing we're going to be talking about halfway through this chat about a new line that you're going to be looking for pretty soon for the consumer, or at least I hope pretty soon. And
me too.
I think it's going to generate interest like it always does. And, hopefully we get some people very interested in it. I don't own any stock in this company, guys. This is all their child and their baby. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just happy to be a part of the ride here. So we do have Douglas Shuganai. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Kev Monty, they have pulled in. So why don't we start off by kind of talking a little bit about some of the things that, the consumer has seen over the past year. I mean, obviously Icarus started with all of the lowers for the 320 series. Then it branched off into the 365 series. We've now seen Zev, which is a pretty amazing looking little thing you got going on there. So why don't you tell us what you guys have been up to and, where the success has been mostly. I get a feeling it probably has something to do with the 365, but I'm not sure. So take it away, Travis.
Yeah, no, for sure. 365 has just been nonstop. We can't manufacture them fast enough. We keep on ramping up production and adding capacity, and it just gets absorbed by more and more models because SIG keeps coming out with new models, which is actually a good thing. And then just more sales, which is a good thing too. We're picked up by more and more retailers and that kind of stuff, which has been a blessing, huge blessing. So we can't be. We're just thankful to have as much market acceptance as we have been having. But 320, 365 are kind of the bread and butter still. We got branched off into Zev too, because they're one of the few that had the modular like Glock-based system, which is a really, really good system, good chassis system. They call it MBK, actually, I think modular build kit. And started out with that in their compact line. And it was a little bit of a letdown. We first launched it because we didn't sell quite as many of them as we thought. I mean, that was a very long project to get going. It was like over a year, I think, to get that thing from cradle to grave. And now that we've actually launched the compacts, they've been out in the wild now for probably 6 months or so. Now people are like, I'm really interested in that. And now we're getting a lot of renewed interest in it again. So which I kind of figured would happen because it's kind of a weird, super unique, pretty expensive product. But I figured once they got out in people's hands, actually, there might be more interest in them. And it has been true, actually. So we just finally worked around and got time to throw some effort at getting the X module done, which is basically a G17 size grip for the Zev compact chassis and V2 chassis. So this is the X grip. So it's a G17 size mag and everything like that.
Nice.
And then this is obviously when it's all assembled with the Zev magwell on it and all that kind of good jazz. Basically, it makes it a G45. So you get a 19 size slide with a 17 size mag.
Nice.
Still has all the 360 degree texturing. Really aggressive. I didn't consult with Zev as much this time on how to do some of the styling, which is why I ran the texture all the way up on the side and everything. Like I did want to do the first time, but they kind of kept telling me, "Nah, we want to see it like this. We want to see it look like this." And we went back and forth around and around for about 6 months on trying to get the design what they thought it wanted to look like, and they ended up doing their own X size module recently for that Warm Fuzzy collaboration build, which was based along the design they wanted me to go with too. And I was like, hey, you can. I made actually a prototype of it with that kind of golf ball dimpling on it. It looked really nice. I really liked how it looked, but it felt not that great. I mean, it wasn't grippy. I mean, it wasn't something I would feel like, yeah, I want to go shoot this thing. I'm gonna feel like I got a really good grip on life on this. It's like, it's slippery. It looks cool, but it's fucking slippery. And that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, so we've been working on that quite a bit. Oh, what else we've been working on? We got 2011 stuff in the works too. Springfield Prodigy platforms, one of the ones we're working on aggressively, and also Gen 1 STIs. Though I'm hoping those will get going here probably in the next few months as well. Since we were on the left coast or west coast, I guess you should say, whereas they all hate guns out here, we decided to relocate to Wyoming, where they love guns. So we haven't moved yet. I'm still based in Washington, but we bought a facility back there, and we're getting ready. I got a bunch of machines plugged in a shop back there. We got some employees back there working on getting them up and going, so we can add capacity and also add new products. But I keep on adding new capacity to new products, soak up new capacity, and I can't make more of the other stuff.
Right,
So it's a vicious circle, but it's a good problem to have.
Now, when you with the Zevs, all right. So let's talk about the Zevs a little bit. So, I actually had a Zev for a while, and it's kind of a chunky gun, right? The lower. So in regards to the diameter of your lower that you're producing, is it the same feel of it? Is it a little bit thinner? What would you say?
It's substantially thinner because we're along the back here. I mean, I put a lot of effort into making slimming this whole thing down here, going inside into where the trigger guard is and everything. I relieved a whole bunch. I cut a bunch of meat out of that thing. It's probably a little bit thinner side to side. It's definitely thinner front to back. And I also thinned out the front strap quite a bit right in here because a couple of the guys that shoot a lot, like they like the feel that we put on our macros of having a thinner strap in the front. So when you wrap around, your fingers actually wrap further around here and get more contact on it. So I would say it definitely is a thinner profile than the OEM polymer Zevs. But it was just kind of a balance of trying to figure out where could I take a lot of meat out of this thing at, right, and where do I got to leave it? But it's like you and I were talking before we started the live stream. The kind of the trend right now is to go into a thinner, more ergonomic style gun versus holding a 2x4, holding something thinner where you can wrap your hands around it more than doing this. I mean, it's just. So right. We tried to thin out the Zev quite a bit, which we actually did succeed. I feel like pretty well on it, and so far I only made about 10 or so of the X modules to get them out to some guys to do some testing on, and so far they are freaking loving these things. So
I bet.
I feel pretty good about it. I'm happy where it all ended up.
Cool. Now, in regards to like STI and the Prodigy series, what are you going to be working on regarding those two lines?
It's pretty much modules again, because again the frame. The main frame, everything is the serialized part. So the grip is just a grip module, just like any other SIG grip module or the Zev grip module. It's been kind of the balance. The problem is on the 2011s, you're kind of dictated with the mainspring housing and some of the features on there, how you can't do some of the more exaggerated geometric things we do on our grip modules on those. You have to keep them a little more in line with kind of what all the other components that marry together are made to fit like. Magwells are one thing, trying to figure out how the magwells are going to fit on different manufacturers, 2011s and that kind of stuff. And the mainspring housing is the other thing. We're trying to add more of a mag flare internally, but the mainspring housing is part of the magwell. So you kind of have to work around that. And the trigger guard as well, and the holsters are the same battle we always have with holsters. As soon as you make anything very, very geometric outside the normal, the holsters become a major problem. And I mean, we've gotten amazing support from a lot of holster manufacturers doing holsters for our 365s and 320s, to where it's not nearly as issue it once was. But I prefer not to fight that battle again if I didn't have to, because it's just one more thing that we have to constantly try and get support from holster manufacturers and convince them, like, hey, tool up to make this that we think we're going to sell a lot of.
Right. And that's been a lot of problems sometimes with certain gun manufacturers where they come out with a nice product, but then there's absolutely no aftermarket for it. So it kind of relegates it to the garbage pile, unfortunately. Yeah. So obviously there are some questions coming in, and Kev Monty is saying he wants to get a Zev, but they do look blocky and his hands are small. But he does love his P365 from you guys.
Well, I can promise you that our Zev aluminum module will feel a lot less blocky than the OEM Zev module. It is thinned down quite a bit. If you have smaller hands, I think it would help quite a bit, honestly.
So another question regarding just the modularity of things, right? So, there's a couple of guns out there that obviously have modular chassis systems in them, the SIG being one. The Echelon, I think, is one as well. They've said they can come up with new frames and everything, although there's been no compacts out there. Hint to you guys, by the way. Of course, you've got the APX, the Beretta. Any interest in maybe moving in those directions as well?
Echelon, yeah, we get a ton of requests on Echelons every time we do a live chat, every time we do email, open anything on Instagram. It's like Echelon, 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 which so far, from my understanding, has been a very, very reliable, really highly regarded gun, honestly. So that one is definitely on the list of things to kind of work on. We're trying to figure out if we want to kind of start it from literally ground zero and do it all on our own again, or we want to try and get Springfield involved with it. And we're kind of working on trying to get Springfield involved with it, but it's a slow process to do that at the higher level negotiation with the bigger companies. Taurus is the other one. The GX4 line is a modular system, and we started working with them early on their, I think it was their, I'm not sure, micro carry 360 standard 365 competitor. We did 3 or 4 versions for them, and they were liking they were liking them pretty well. We had some revisions we were going to make on them. And then the guy we were working with at Taurus at that time ended up leaving the company to go back to, I think, Walther. So I just literally got reached out to by Taurus like last week when I was jumping on an airplane. He went, "Hey, we want to get this project going again. We just launched the carry size, slightly bigger, more like an XL size, I think, GX4. We want to get that going again." I was like, "Hey, I'm happy to help you guys do it. I like the project. It actually had a really good trigger for a striker fire gun. The GX4 has a really good trigger, so I feel like that's a good one to move on to. Is try and, since we're already down that road quite a ways, it made sense just to kind of finish it up. But yeah, the Echelon would be a good one. I want to do something with that because from what I understand, it's very good and it's very popular. And I think it's around the size of a G19 or a Macro 365, somewhere in between there. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a compact version of that gun, one that's more standard to a compact size. I think it's a little bit bigger, so I think it's like in between a 1917 kind of thing. But I don't know. I've never seen one in the wild here because apparently Springfield doesn't send anything to New York State, so that kind of sucks. But one of the things I would ask also, and with some of these guns and just the popularity, obviously, of the SIG line and obviously the 365, I think is still probably their most popular firearm. Where would you say over the past year, the biggest challenge of your company has been? Not necessarily just availability of product, because I know it takes time to be able to mill these and get them just right. But what would you say has been a pretty, I guess, a big challenge for you in regards to being the owner and the company as a whole?
It's become a challenge just having the company grow so just exacerbatedly fast as it has, that I can't just go in a weekend and try and design something and cut something and make something, because now I have to do a lot of other things that I just like to be able to get some things knocked out, worked out, go on, test them, make sure they're good, and kind of get them going. And now I have to slow down a lot, and I don't like that very much. I like to be able to get these things out, prove them out, and just kind of work on them. But and as soon as you start collaborating with other companies, it makes everything just a lot slower, because then they have to get back to you. They have to consider it. And then we have to consider what they wanted us to change and how we're going to change it. Can we do it? Should we do it? It becomes a problem when you're just kind of doing it on your own and freewheeling. It's just kind of whatever speed you want to do it at. But as you get bigger and work with bigger companies, they expect you to do things in a certain way that is not exactly the most expeditious way to do it, in my opinion. But what do I know?
Yeah. And I can imagine, I mean, obviously they want to dictate what's going to happen. And, in regards to those relationships, and you don't have to name names, but have there been some companies that have tried to work with you that you just found to be unreasonable and kind of just said, no, thank you?
No, not really. Honestly, not that I can think of off the top of my head. We've either worked it out and been able to work together and had a good relationship, or it just kind of didn't really take off like we thought. Like the thing with Taurus, we had it going, we've got a lot of time into it and everything, and we just happened to lose our point of contact, and that's why it kind of just stalled out for a minute. But now they've reached back out, and I think we'll get going again with them on that. But no, not too much. We've been really fortunate that pretty much all of our partner companies we work with have been pretty good to work with.
Cool. So in regards to SIGs, let's talk about SIG, right? You know that the bulk of your success came from the 6-hour line,
Yeah.
the 320s, whether it's the compact, the full size, the carry model, and then obviously a 365, and then the whole line of 365s. Of all the things that you guys put out there, what has been the biggest success in all of those?
You know, it seems like whatever the newest thing is actually the biggest thing to sell. But honestly, when the macro first came out, I mean, we had our macro module, and that was a wild success. I mean, it was very, very successful. But honestly, when now the macro has been out for now 8, 10 months, maybe even a year, we still move a ton of the XL size, like the Evo lineup we have and the macro. I would say the macro is still more popular, but the Evo series is still very, very popular. We move a lot of those. But then just we have like I want to say we have like a dozen different models of 365. Every time we sit down, we're like, maybe we should kind of tone it back, and maybe we should eliminate a few of these models to try and streamline our manufacturing a little more. And then we kind of don't manufacture one for a while, and then you'll get a whole fleet of people that want the one you're not manufacturing for a while. So it's hard to discontinue a model because almost everything still sells, but macros and Evos sell the most, bar none.
Gotcha. All right. So we have another question, and this is kind of interesting because at one time you guys were making AR stuff. I know some minor stuff, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
So this individual, Kev Monty, is asking, any chance you'll make a few of the M-Lock hand stops you had? Sorry to go off topic. That's fine.
Yeah, we actually did. We were doing some hand stops with QDs integrated in them. We were doing some uppers, some hand guards, and several different things for ARs. We were actually machining those, and they were not cost effective to manufacture them how we were doing it. So we were kicking around trying to do the hand stops again. But if we do them, we probably would do it in a MIM capacity, like metal injection molding, instead of actually the part. Just because I think it'd be way more cost effective because the part's $25. It's hard to make profit on $25 part that you machine that takes some time on a 5-axis machine that costs $500,000. So it's sometimes some of those little smaller projects like that are not quite as good for application for actually the machining wise. We've been kind of kicking around maybe doing some kind of a forging or mimming of the parts instead. So maybe, I don't know when though, that the hand stoppers came up a few times though.
Interesting.
So it wasn't that popular when we did them, but it got popular after we discontinued them.
Nice. Go figure, right? That's usually how it works, right? When it's there, nobody cares. When it's gone, everybody wants one.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things I'm interested in is just like, how does the process work, right? So you have gun manufacturers. Some are very open to kind of evolving, or it looks like SIG has been like that with you guys, where they've been very open with you and very working friendly with your company.
Yeah.
But my question would be, how does that process work? Like, for example, there's a couple of guns I've already mentioned, the Echelon, the APX. I mean, Steyr also is modular. I mean, that gun is great, but nobody likes it because you can't do anything with it. But my question would be, how hard is it for you guys to contact these companies, or maybe they contact you, I don't know, and then working with them to try to create something from scratch? Is it something that is easy, or is it very difficult to kind of negotiate those things?
No, usually we've been fortunate and blessed that usually they reach out to us and they want to do something. They want to collaborate on somehow how to get, like you say, get more aftermarket support for their product. Just make it more appealing to the consumers because you can do more custom stuff to it. So it's always been pretty easy, honestly, because we basically say, hey, okay, so what platform do you want us to focus on? Do you care what features, or do you have features you don't want to see on it? Do you want it to look kind of feel like the ones you're currently making, but maybe in aluminum versus in polymer? We kind of get a roadmap for what they feel like they want to see, and most of the time it's like, no, just go ahead and make something that's cool and people want to buy, and that's usually what it ends up being. I'm trying to think. I don't think we've had to really go out and trying to really hunt down any contacts. We've actually made a lot of contacts through other contacts. They're way bigger in the industry. Like, hey, I know a guy over at this company. He was wanting to talk to you. Can I get in contact with him? Sure, let's do that. So it's actually just been super organic and really easy to happen because it just happened kind of just behind the scenes without us having to go hunt down work. So it's been really pretty easy to do, honestly.
So you also made mention that you guys are moving to it's Wyoming, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about this? Because obviously you mentioned it. I think you're in Washington, right?
Yep.
Yep. You know they hate guns. I'm in New York. It's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of like the twin of Washington. So what do you think is going to happen now? I mean, do you think that there's going to be this? I mean, I would suspect that you're going to have unbridled growth now because now you're in a much more friendly state, probably less red tape to go through. But what are your thoughts on that?
I hope so. It's hard to say. We haven't been really in the serialized firearms manufacturing side of the thing at all, so it hasn't been too big of a problem in this state yet. But it could be in this state.
Right.
Some of the recent legislation they passed left a lot of gray areas to where it could be interpreted kind of however they want to interpret it that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I prefer us to go somewhere where they think guns are great, and they'd love to have the manufacturer and the industry there. And I mean, Wyoming's known for pretty much oil, natural gas, and coal. That's what they do, and they're trying to definitely diversify their industries.
Right.
So we were moving to Casper, Wyoming, which is kind of the middle of the state, and everybody in the state, the local government, state government has been like unbelievably supportive, but like, yeah, come in, let's do this. We'll help you out. We'll get it going. I mean, they're very, very interested. So we're going to move into probably actually doing serialized, like actual complete weapons manufacturing when we get back to Wyoming, just because I know it'll be a lot easier to deal with back there.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a good thing, but the whole West Coast has just lost its damn mind, kind of like the East Coast. It's just crazy. Oregon just got their Measure 114 struck down yesterday, which is great. I mean, we all didn't expect it to happen, but I'm glad it did. But Washington passed whatever the hell they called theirs. It was the same thing: assault weapons ban, mag ban, all this stuff, and pretty much shut down any AR manufacturing in the state. I mean, Aero Precision is north of us by a couple hours, and they can't even make AR parts anymore. That was what they did.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's messed up. I mean, you can't even buy an AR bolt carrier group in this state. I mean, you can't manufacture them. It's nuts.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the state's going to learn its lesson when it no longer has a tax base and all of its companies leave. So I guess it's good for you. It's bad for them, but hey, they've written their own fate. And you kind of touched on something just now. I was going to ask you about the serialized parts. Yeah. So that is something you're looking at going into?
Yeah, we've been working with Agency Arms quite a bit, which are they're the kind of the go-to king of Gucci Glock stuff, and we became really good friends with the owners of Agency. Really good group of people, great company, make some fucking cool products. They make some
they do
really really Gucci stuff that's really badass.
Yeah.
So we're working with them on quite a few different projects that I can't get into too deeply, but we're hoping to have some actually prototypes at SHOT Show to be able to test out down there at range days and just have them with the booths and everything. But I really wish I could show everybody the stuff we're working on, but it's freaking cool, man. It is like the next level, just awesome Glock stuff. So I know we get beat up every time we get on any kind of chat, like, hey, when are the Glock frames? When are the Glock frames? They're coming. They're working. The Zev modular system was kind of a good segue to get into Glock, prove out the concept, the geometry we have, see if it gets accepted the way I hope it does. And then after that, kind of get into actually the full-on serialized Glock lower.
Nice.
A grip frame, I guess it'd be at that point. So there's quite a few projects going on. There's multiple lanes of projects going on, all with Glock, and a lot of them with Agency Arms. So yeah.
Now, are you working directly with Glock, or is this something you're kind of doing as a freelance type of deal?
Oh no, this is totally freelance. I have yet to find anybody yet who has had successful business relationships with Glock.
Well, you mean they don't want to change anything? I mean, what a shocker. I mean, that's surprising. I wonder who's worse, them or HK. I don't know which one's worse about changing their product.
I don't know, man, but I mean, you can't fault a Glock. Will always go bang when you pull the trigger, no matter if it's covered in mud, sand, whatever. It doesn't matter. It freaking works. I mean, everybody I know that gets deployed, they're like, if I got a choice of taking a Glock, I know it's going to work.
Yep. Now, just to make sure we're on the same page in regards to Glock, are you talking about aluminum lowers or polymer lowers?
Aluminum.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely do some aluminum stuff with them. So
that'd be cool.
Just trying to work through it all and trying to figure out what's going to work and what's going to work the best, what's going to be, you know, a sellable product. Because if I can make something cool, but if nobody wants to buy it, it was kind of a waste of time.
Well, I'm fairly certain everybody's going to want to buy it if it's cool. I mean, they go hand in hand with each other in this industry, right? All right. So it's crazy enough to say this, but we're about almost halfway through this chat, right? So I put something out early yesterday and I talked about, you know, two words. I said affordability and availability. And I know talking to your folks over there, they were saying that the biggest conundrum for the company, big word, is you know, just making sure that you have the products available, and that some of the bigger complaints have always been, well, I can't seem to get one, and then others would complain, and I've seen it even in my comments on the videos that they're expensive. These are expensive parts, but again, people have to realize you're talking about aluminum, you're talking about milling them and making sure they're done right. So that's going to cost money, no doubt, right? So now I'd like to talk to you about what do you have in the future that addresses both of those things?
Well, we've been, it's not a humongous secret. We've been working on polymer modules for 365s now for a while. And we finally are getting to the point where we can actually be talking about here in the next, hopefully 30 or 45 days, be getting our own production polymer modules going on 365s. We actually did get all the way through the process of getting the mold design engineered out and everything on our Elite series of XL modules back literally last December, a year ago, right when SIG decided to drop the macro. And I mean, everybody and their brother was like, that's going to be a hit. I mean, that's just going to be a hit because you get more rounds than a Glock 19, you get an integrated comp, and it's thinner. I mean, it's just going to be a hit. How can it not be? So we talked to my engineering team. I was like, hey guys, I know you guys just put a fucking year worth of time into doing all this stuff for our XL Elite or Pro Elite series, but we need to make a macro now. So how much of this can we apply to a macro polymer module? And they said, oh yeah, it'll probably take us 3 or 4 months. And here we are a year later. But we finally do have our actual polymer module kind of worked out. This is the first test example. There's no stippling texture on this one yet, but we've been out range testing this thing out and shooting it. It's 95% the same geometry as our aluminum macro, just with in polymer. So it's a lot more cost effective. Obviously, it's like a quarter of the price. Same features, same benefits. You get you get the thumb rests on them still over here. But the nice thing is, like on our macros and our Evos right now, you have to pick, you pretty much only get an ambidextrous thumb rest. On these, you can get a left hand specific, a right hand specific, or no thumb rest, texture pads instead. Get a big flared magwell on them. The stipling is going to be pretty aggressive, just like our aluminum ones. Runs all at the top here, wrapped around all the way around. Undercut trigger guard still. It doesn't have the flip beaver tail on it, like we did our aluminum one. And given the fact the polymer, you can't quite get the same physical properties. You have to deal with deformation, cooling rates, shrink rates, and that kind of stuff. So we had to do a little bit less of an exaggerated swell in the back strap on it, but it will be able to accept a weight in the back. Sorry, I can't see that. You can put a stainless steel weights in the back of it, just like you do on a lot of the other polymer modules in the market.
Nice. But
that's the biggest thing we have going on right now. We're finally getting through that. It's been a battle, man, to try and get that done. But yeah, normal 17 round macro mags and also our macro base pads.
Nice.
So that's going to be the biggest one we get going, which this is the first test. We've got like a dozen of these test ones. We're testing out all this stuff, make sure they fit, form, function good. But so far they're beautifully running, shooting. Got 1,000 rounds through a couple of them, no issues at all. Going to get the second revision of them done here in a couple of weeks and hopefully get full into production with the fully stippled textured ones. Hoping we can get them launched around the first of the year is kind of our goal.
Nice. And of course, people will ask about the polymer. Is it reinforced? Is it, is it going to be bendable? There are some guns where I've seen that, but
it's the exact same polymer that SIG uses in their modules.
Nice. So it's quality.
Yeah, it's the same exact stuff.
Cool. Colors, any color combinations, or is it going to be straight black or?
Black for right now, but we'll be doing an FDE, and I'm sure we'll be doing a few other color combinations too. In polymer, I'm not quite sure what mean, probably a gray. You can't get quite as crazy with the colors as you can with
Right.
like anodization and that kind of stuff. But I would definitely say an FDE would be in the future, possibly a gray in the future, but black's going to be 95% of what you sell.
Interesting. So
So,
if you were going to compare, like when you're milling the aluminum, on average, what's the time frame that it takes from start to finish? And then obviously the polymer. I mean, what's the time frame on something like that?
oh, luckily with the polymer stuff, they can actually crank them out in mass production. So we can be cranking out thousands a week instead
Wow.
of, 100 a week.
Wow. All right. So that's cool.
Which
And I
brings
think,
it'll get the price way down there too, which you say you get 90% the features and benefits of the aluminum just in a polymer, instead of, you get most of the geometry, the thumb rest, the undercut trigger guards, and the mag flares, and the geometry on the sides and everything. But yeah, they'll be around $130 or less. So
oh, wow.
that
Yeah,
should
that's
help a
great.
lot.
Yeah. And again, it's like, again, you're going to have people who are going to complain either way, right? We know this, and they're going to say, oh, well, it's just a polymer lower. But again, if you've ever put your hands on one of those macros, which I have, it's like, there's not a good way to describe how the gun feels, because the gun is super thin. We know that, but it feels like a full size gun, but a lot thinner. And I think just the ergonomics are so much better than what comes with the regular SIG, or even the Wilson combat lowers. Those were kind of cool too. I still like those better than the Palmer SIGs. But when you put your hands on something like the macro and just the ergonomics of it, I mean, there's no comparison. I mean, it's just not. So it's going to be interesting to see how that polymer feels and how people take to it.
Yeah, the first time I got my hands on one actually in person was last night. We've been working with the engineers on trying to do them in SolidWorks and all this kind of stuff, and I really like it. I'm very impressed because it makes it really feel, and I didn't notice this until last night, feeling like this thing feels like a 1911. It has that same grip angle of a 1911. It's like that 18-degree grip angle, and it feels really good. It's just super natural. Whereas like our aluminum stuff, it kind of has a modified grip angle because you have like the backstrap swells and that kind of stuff. That kind of throws off the whole grip geometry. But these have a less of a backstrap swell. I mean, it makes it really feel like a 1911, being really thin like it is and everything.
Now the magwell is integrated with the polymer, right? So it's not a separate piece. Okay.
Yeah. That was the only thing that I was like, man, we could make it a two-piece, kind of like what SIG does with their, I think they call it TAC Ops. And I don't know that I'm going to be doing an aluminum module that will accept the detachable TAC Ops macro magwell. But on the polymer, I was like, most people want to have a magwell on them anyway. So why not just put it on there? I mean, it makes it easier. It's one more feature that's included with it. But having to buy a separate part, have a screw holding it together.
Right. And I mean, it's still great demand for anything polymer. When, we were talking about Glocks earlier, Glocks, we all know everybody modifies the hell out of them. They go out and they buy different lowers, different trigger systems, slides, everything, So I think in regards to what makes this a good investment is the fact that you can personalize what your gun is. Some people don't like to talk about that, but I mean, that's a part of gun ownership. I mean, it's your thing, make it your thing, right? So that kind of gives you this option, which is kind of sweet. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm also going to do some stuff with the agency and have them do some stippling on some of the polymer ones, just because they do an amazing job on stippling grip modules. I have some Glock 45s they did up for me, and those things are fucking great. So I'm like, hey, are you guys interested in doing these in the polymer macro? And they're like, hell yeah, we are. So I'm going to get them some of those to kind of play around with too.
Now, obviously, you're doing the polymer and the 365. So are you guys going to wait to see the popularity, see if they take off before, and you may not be, but maybe before you invest time and money in the 320 line?
I don't know if a polymer 320 is going to be as, I don't know. We want to kind of see how this one goes first. This has been a long project. I want to make sure it's going to be the juice is worth the squeeze before I dump a bunch more money into it. I could see it being more that we end up doing the Elite Series polymer, the XL size 365 polymer versus a macro, because all the engineering's already done on it. We've already had that in the back burner anyway. So on the 320, I don't know. I'm not sure that the market is as strong on polymer 320s because now there's 3 or 4 other companies already doing that. I think there's Wilson Combat, there's Merzon, there's Bauer. I think there's 1 or 2 more smaller ones too. They're also making them. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze on trying to get into the 320 market.
Okay. Now let me ask you this: do you guys see like maybe branching off into other things like trigger shoes? Because I know you guys make certain other products for your line, but any interest in doing something like a trigger shoe?
Maybe. It's one of those things. I'm gonna have to figure out how enough time to put to good, and can I actually do it better than it's being done right now?
I mean, if you want, I can give you a list, and then you just go through it. If whenever you want, it's up to you guys. Because
there's a fleet of people that make trigger manufacturers, trigger kits, trigger shoes, and some of them are pretty damn good. So I don't know if I can make them a lot better than what they're already doing.
Yeah. All right. So now we're looking at the aluminum stuff. We looked at polymer stuff. What is something that you want to do? Like, forget about every company that's hitting you up. If you could like freeze them all out for maybe a year or two, what would be a pet project for you that you'd want to work on?
We want to. I mean, eventually, I want to do our own full-on 2011, like a full-on everything made in-house, slide, barrel, frame, module, everything. I've been lucky enough to do a lot of 2011 testing lately with some of the bigger, super awesome companies in 2011 world. And that's the freaking finest shooting platform in the world. It's just fucking nuts. They're expensive as shit, but they shoot amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a good shooting gun. So I mean, that's kind of a long-term project I want to get into and actually start doing like a whole 2011 cradle to grave. But again, it's like we just talked about trigger shoes. There's already several companies that are doing that and doing it very, very well. Am I going to be able to freaking do something innovative enough and different enough to justify the time, money, expense to get into it? I don't know. Maybe it just kind of depends. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have the free time to do it in the near future. I think I've got the next 5 years of my life pretty well freaking booked out to the walls, which is a good thing. It's a good problem to have, but it's a little much sometimes.
All right. So I think what would kind of revolutionize the 2011 market, I know that, what is it? Oracle came out with a 2311, take SIGMAGs. So here's what I would say you should do, right? And you don't have to listen to me. So I'm just throwing it out there. Is how about you make a 2011 based around Glock magazines?
There's already being done by Stealth Arms.
Damn it.
Yeah. I actually know a guy who is involved with Stealth Arms a little bit. Now you're gonna laugh at me, but I think their gun's called the Platypus.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I've been told it shoots really good. I've been told it's a freaking really good shooting gun, but it takes Glock mags, a 2011 platform. So
yeah, I actually saw a review on it, and I was like, wow, that is a pretty badass gun. Yeah. But I didn't realize they were taking Glock magazines. Well, damn it, I should have trademarked that or something, or copyright it. Oh well, there goes my millions. So obviously, I know that you're working with certain individuals. You have not disclosed much of anything to me, which I know you can't. Is there anything that you can tell us that would just knock our socks off? Anything at all, besides the polymer, besides the aluminum Zev? Putting you on the spot. Totally putting you on the spot.
Man. I literally, believe me, it's killing me on the inside. I'm dying a little bit because I have 3 or 4 things right now that I'm mostly working with Agency Arms a lot on stuff because they've just been fucking awesome. They have a lot of industry respect, industry knowledge, and contacts. And I've got 2 or 3 things going with those guys that are going to be fucking amazing. When they finally rubber hits the road and it comes out, people are gonna be like, "What the fuck? That is so cool." Because it hasn't been done before, and it's going to be amazing. I feel like so. I'm hoping that by probably maybe one of them will probably be dropping middle of next month, and the other ones will be probably around SHOT Show, be kind of announced. We have several units out being tested right now by a bunch of pretty high profile guys in the industry, just kind of burning some rounds through some stuff. And so far it's good. Working through prototyping, but it's just slow. It's frustrating, but it is how it goes. But I think it'll be awesome when it finally hits. I think it'll be fucking amazing. So hopefully it's shot. There'll be some really, really cool stuff to be able to show off and talk about.
So what you're really saying are laser beams, laser guns is what you're talking about, right? That's awesome. I would like one. Okay.
That's the funny, you say that too, because I was working with another one of the bigger industry guys a few years back on doing some AR stuff. And we were like, hey, let's do like an AR, a full AR build, blah blah. What can we add to it to make it better, different, blah blah. And he's like, honestly, man, I'm telling you straight up, unless you're gonna make an AR that shoots laser beams, it's kind of all been done. I mean, it's been done. there's everything under the sun as far as ARs it's been done. And unfortunately, most of the states are trying to outlaw them, which makes it even harder to justify getting into that market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's tough. That's too bad. Laser guns would have been cool, but I know. So, it's amazing to see like where the company started and where it's at now. Has there been anything, in regards to the growth, in regards to the popularity, the companies you've worked with, people who have shot your stuff? Has there been anything at all in this journey that you guys have been on that has kind of shocked you or surprised you?
Honestly, it's been in a good way that so many, I mean, we were in the firearms business as a proxy for another small company doing AR parts for a long time, but we didn't do our own stuff at all. We didn't have anything to do with it. And getting into the industry on a whole, everybody we've gotten to know through SIG and some of the other bigger companies and everything too, and some of these bigger names in the industry, like the Kyle Lambs, Travis Haley's, and that kind of stuff. They've been fucking awesome. They're just super good dudes that are really helpful, give you really good feedback, and just help you kind of refine the product and make it better all the time. And are willing to kind of test it out, give you feedback, and do some stuff on their own time. And it's been how accepting the industry's been of us trying to do something different. I mean, some of these things are really unique looking and odd, and some people are like, that is too fucking weird for me. But on a whole, people have been like, this is fucking great. This is really cool. I wish somebody would have done this years ago. But yeah, just the overall community has been super embracing and helpful with giving us, support and feedback on how to make a better product and what we should do next to make it better next generation. Because I'm always saying, every time I do a new 365 module of some kind, I'm like, okay, what do I do next? Because I've thrown everything in this that I could think of. So what's the next phase? How do you make it better? Like you say, unless you make it shoot laser beams, it's kind of hard to, because you can only do so much.
But sometimes you don't have to either. I mean, I think one of the best examples, well, there's two examples I can think of in regards to that. So any CZ metal gun, I mean, those guns have been around forever. People love them and they know it. I would even say the classic SIGs, I've gotten back into the classic SIGs a lot. Those guns are just, what can you say? They're amazing. So, and they haven't changed. They haven't evolved. It's the same gun. If you took a time machine back, it'd be the same damn thing. So I think once you come into the market and you have a good product and people understand that, yes, you may have to pay something for that, but the return on that is going to be something that's effective, efficient, and usable. Maybe you don't have to change much. Maybe what you have is the product that's going to stand the test of time. So I think that's something that can be definitely said about it.
Yeah, like you said, when I go to the range, if I'm going to go shoot, I either take my UZ 229 Legion SIG, and I just freaking love shooting that thing. It's just a great shooting gun. I have a couple CZs, the same thing. And I've been asked quite a few times, like, well, what about, Walther or CZ and doing some stuff for them? I'm like, why? Walther and CZ are two of the few big companies that really do ergonomics well.
Yeah,
they make
true.
really good ergonomic guns, and you can't really. I mean, you could improve it a little bit, but I don't know if it's worth the effort, because they make a freaking damn fine platform to start with.
I agree. I would like to see maybe a little bit more modern touch come to the other German company that has two letters in it, only because it never seems like their stuff is like there's look, like they make great guns. We all know that. So all the HK fanboys stop. But at the same time, there has not really been that super ergonomic feeling gun except for the VP9.
VP9 was freaking amazing. That's a great. I mean, I have a lot of guys going, "Hey, make it feel like a VP9," which it does shoot. But I'm still kind of confused as to why the VP9 is so great and everything else is just very generic. I don't know.
Right. And
did they fire the guy that designed the VP9?
Well, they don't care about anything we say, so that's how it is with HK. But I just think, like, even with the Walther, right? So they came out with the PPQ steel frame series. Yeah. And those look like amazing guns. Ergonomically, I'm sure they're fantastic. But aluminum, to me, is a better feel. It's a better weight. So I would still hit up Walther and say, hey, I can design an aluminum frame for you guys.
Yeah, and it might come to that because actually one of the contacts that we had actually went back to Walther, and he was a super great guy to work with. So I might at some point reach out to him, and if I need a project, I might reach out to him. But I don't need projects right now. I got too many projects. I'm always getting my whole team's always like, quit taking on new projects. We can't do the ones we have.
Yeah. So what would you? All right. So of all the products you have coming, right, or working on right now, what is the earliest one that's going to be complete and out there? Can you tell me?
Polymer stuff, like I said, probably first of the year. Next month, there's there's a couple things coming out with Agency Arms. We kind of co-designed and we have co-patented and everything like that. That'll be big, really big. And then also the Glock stuff that I'm working on with Agency around SHOT Show will be big. The Glock market's the next logical market to get into because it's such a massive market. I mean, it just is.
Yep.
I don't think anybody will tell you how ergonomic and great a Glock feels, but they do shoot phenomenally well, and they're the most reliable, battle-tested weapons platform on the planet.
Right.
And there's a ton of them. So I want to get into that market because it's just a damn fine platform, and I think it definitely could use some ergonomic enhancements, which we've been able to kind of prove out on the OZ9 that it obviously works in a Glock platform. It's a quasi Glock. It still works. People like it. So now we can get into more of a Glock frame or some other kind of quasi Glock thing of our own. Then it would be it'll be a good platform. I think it'll work out really well.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the market with Glock clones. I mean, they're still out there. They're still expanding. I mean, there's so many manufacturers right now that are basically taking all the Gen 3 parts, throwing them in a clone, and the guns, in essence, are Glock interior-wise, but everything else is so much better. The ergonomics, the trigger, the slide, just such a better overall gun. So yeah, I would say you're absolutely 100% on that when it comes to just that's the next logical market. Now, do you have a wish list of anything you want to work on?
Like I say, I have to think about it. I have a list of stuff, but it grows all the time, and a lot of it I can't talk about.
Well, damn it.
I want to get to. I'd like to get back into doing some automotive stuff too. I mean, I love quite a bit. I like motorcycles quite a bit too. I wouldn't mind doing some stuff with motorcycles either. But it's just a matter of time anymore. Just the firearm industry is what puts food on the table right now. It keeps all the people employed. So that's what we're kind of focused on right now. Until I have enough extra capacity that I'm like, I want to try and make a clutch basket for a dirt bike just because I want to, not because I can sell it. And like I said, the automotive stuff I really like doing. I enjoy doing it, but it's such a hard industry to break into because it's been like I said, the firearms industry on a whole was so much more accepting and easy to get into just because I think we came in with a new concept on a new idea. And so it got accepted pretty quickly just because it was different. In automotive, it's kind of hard to because it's a lot different industry on a whole. So.
All right. So we are now coming into the last 10 minutes or so of this. Question for you is going to be, what do you guys have in regards to the coming up? I don't even know if you call it a holiday anymore, but Black Friday. You know, everybody and anybody has stuff going on. So what do you guys have going on?
No, we actually do. I didn't think we'd have that much for stock, which would bum me out. But actually, we have more for stock than I thought we did. So we'll have a pretty darn big selection of XL Evos, X Evos, kind of a mismatch of every other product we offer. There'll be some in stock. The OZ9 X modules will be going up for pre-order. Get those going. Probably the compacts as well, since now there's a renewed interest in the compact module for those. There'll be some discounts on a ton of other accessories. We actually sell mag release kits, holsters, and that kind of stuff. So that there will be definitely some. We have some collaboration build sets we built out with FDES Works. Guy's a phenomenal Cerakoter. Also does integral comp slides, does some porting on the barrels and slides, and they're actually it's an integral comp slide plus a ported barrel. It shoots really flat. We have some collaboration sets with him on 320s and 365s that actually are the bobbed off flush fit for his slide that kind of is angled in the front. I didn't know how popular it would be, so we only did like a few sets of each of those things, and then we We finally got the notify me when in stock option going on our website for email. And we had like a fuckload of people notify me when in stock for these FDIS collaboration sets. And I was like, damn, we should have done a lot more of these because these are going to sell out in like a matter of seconds. So I feel kind of bad. So if you do miss out on it this time, we're going to do more. And next time, we're going to do a lot more because apparently it's very popular. We have a couple new colors coming out that are actually in stock on macros and XL Plus macros. They come with base pads, 3 sets of base pads, and mag release, and some. I think that's what it is. I think it's a mag release, 3 base pads, and a grip module. In our newest metallic dark green, which is a really cool color. I first did the first few test runs on those on the OZ9X modules, and I got those things back, and I was like, "These things, this is a fucking cool color. It is sweet." Nice. Yeah, those will be in stock actually. So yeah, we'll actually have more stuff in stock than I expected to have, so I felt better about that. And just a few more of the other older modules we have too. Just getting through a lot of 320s. Like I say, kind of breaking up manufacturing between Wyoming and here has been a challenge to kind of get everything kind of up and going. But we've added capacity, so we should be able to get more stuff being pushed through in the near future. But it's a slow process, so I apologize. But you guys have always hung with us to try and. We don't want to always be the company that always on pre-order. It's not ideal. We understand the frustration, but yeah, every time we add more capacity to make more parts, then we add more parts to fill the capacity, and so we didn't really gain anything except for a whole new part number.
Right.
It's a good problem to have, but it's a problem. So yeah, there'll be some sales, some stuff on actually discount, some stuff not, but just there'll be a little bit of everything.
Cool. All right. So you guys heard it here first. Look forward to those sales coming out and the things that are going to be available. The last, one of the other things with the move coming up, do you see a downtime obviously for manufacturing products? And if so, how long?
I was kind of thinking there might be a little bit of a downturn and stuff, but it hasn't seemed to been that way. Every time we have stuff available, it still moves very fast. It's just we don't have stuff available that much. We picked up a lot of new dealers, a couple of them really big dealers that I can't really say yet because they can't officially announce stuff yet, that are keeping us really busy with just putting out big orders for those guys. So I was expecting it to be a little slow, but it seems to have not slowed down that much. I mean, I feel like the economy slowed down for everybody. It's not just me. But luckily, it seems like things are still bumping along pretty well as far as firearm stuff goes. And going into an election year next year, too, I'm sure it'll probably go up just like it always does. And especially given how unfriendly the general state of the government is towards firearms, that makes people want to buy more guns, and they should, rightfully so.
Yeah. So it's funny, we were actually debating earlier today if we were going to actually have this chat because Travis wasn't feeling too well. And I'm actually just getting over something too. So I had to mute myself because I have this damn cough that won't go away. So if you guys see me turning red and coughing my lungs up, that's why. So I apologize. I think overall, excuse me. I think overall, when I look at everything that you guys have produced, I think what keeps everybody interested in everything is the fact that you're not willing to just stop, like you talked about earlier. The fact that you're trying to improve what you have. We could always debate whether or not you need to, right? Because you have a solid product that people buy. But I think, again, just kind of looking at the longevity of everything, to me, that's the key. That's the key to your success. And that's what has been successful for you. In regards to your success, what would you, or where do you see things going in, like, let's say the next year? We talked about the Polymer, we talked about some of the other companies you went and are starting to work with. But ultimately, where do you see? I mean, do you see yourself becoming kind of a brand that is everywhere, all 50 states, international, you name it?
Yeah. In the last 6 months, I mean, if you were to ask me about a year ago, I would say no. In the last 6 months or so, things have started to change and develop that I never thought I'd be fortunate enough to have even presented to me as an option. But yeah, are going to get us into all 50 states in a very large way, which is awesome, and potentially a lot of international stuff too. Yeah, I guess my thing is I just like designing stuff and like tweaking on stuff just to see what I can do, see if this concept I have will actually work. And then just being able to apply what we know has worked in SIG over to a Taurus, over to a Glock, over to an HK, over to a CZ, over to an FN. I mean, just kind of work through all these different platforms, because obviously everybody has their own preferred platform of what they like to shoot. And just kind of apply what we found to be successful in one platform to the other platforms and see if we can, I don't know if we'll ever hit all the 5 or 6 major platforms, but we're well on our way to doing that. But yeah, well, I think we're going to end up being very, we're going to end up being a lot larger than I thought we were going to be, which is, again, is a blessing and a curse. I mean, I didn't really go into this thing. I want to have a major national wide business, but that's just kind of how it's turning into, because the market's kind of pushed us in that direction. And just because the customers have been so good to, accept the product and shoot it, give us feedback on it, and help us develop it and refine it. And yes, we're just going to kind of go is where it takes us.
Yeah, and I think the gun market now is starting to kind of come back around. I think for a while there was some questionable things going on politically. But as we mentioned earlier, I mean, look what happened in Oregon, so maybe this is going to be a trend. And I think that trend is going to even improve, your outlook in the future too, because there's going to be such a drive for it.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so.
That's awesome.
I wish that Washington would reverse their stuff, but I don't see that happening. I'm surprised that Oregon even got their stuff blocked. I thought for sure they were going to be screwed, but I guess now and then you get lucky. Yeah.
Well, we're going to see if it becomes something for, California, I think is next. They have a couple of cases, and then, hopefully that'll trickle down to the rest of us.
The other thing too, I should mention, California, SIG got the 365 compliant to California now. So we've been getting a ton of questions on that. Like, hey, are your modules California compliant? And currently I would say no, because they added that magazine disconnect, which it's not even hard to do. I'm going to go through and start making a version that is California compliant. I don't know if I want to apply it to the whole line of modules, because again, in California, I believe they only got the California. It's not like it's the whole lineup. But given the fact it's modular, as long as you have a California compliant FCU, you can then just tweak it and add it to whatever you want and put macro mags in if you want. So yeah, we're going to start making some California compliant versions of it now that I know. I just got my hands on one the other day, because they're kind of hard to get outside of California. Do some measurements and see what they did different. So we're gonna offer that as a thing.
Wow, that's great.
I didn't realize until I was talking to one of my friends the other day how big the California gun market is. It's actually really massive. For the most anti-gun state in the whole damn country, it's got a massive firearms market, which is crazy. It's a big state.
Well, I think it's a massive market, but it's got such a small entry of what you can actually own. So that might be what you can capitalize on too, because it's a part of it now, So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we're down the last 2 minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your company, any products, yourself, the move, whatever, it's your floor. So you got about a minute and a half to say whatever final words you'd like to say tonight, sir.
Oh, no, I don't have anything super crazy. We've kind of gone over most everything good coming up, but no, just like I say, we just appreciate the customer base, buying product and working with us on stuff. We apologize for always being out of stock. If it was our choice, we would not be. It is not by choice. We're not holding out on you, I promise. We literally have stuff going 24/7 every single day. I'll be in there tomorrow on Thanksgiving. They're working here just to keep things going, but we're hoping to expand a lot capacity wise moving to Wyoming, because we bought a far bigger facility than we have. We have another 30,000 square facility we're looking at purchasing too.
Wow.
To get more capacity going. I anticipate the Glock market being really, really big, so we want to kind of gear up for that. We want to gear up to be successful to where when we launch a product, we can then support the product. Right. We started out with the SIG stuff. we didn't know if it was going to be successful at all. We had no idea. It was just kind of a, let's just throw some shit against the wall and see if it sticks. And it was really popular. So then we've been planning to play catch up to try and get it going for the last couple of years. And this time we're going to try and get spooled up before we launch a product so we can actually support the base. If I'm hoping it's as good as I think it is. But yeah, a lot of good stuff coming.
All right. Well, that's awesome. This is going to come to the end now for us for the hour. But I do appreciate having the conversation with you, man. It's been a while, and I'm glad we got a chance to connect. And I look forward to see what's coming up down the pike because, like I said, I think from day one, you guys had a good game plan. I think it's expanded in some aspects, almost like uncontrollably expanded.
Yes.
But I think it's just going to be another good year for you guys. And I look forward to seeing what you guys have. So appreciate it, Travis.
Catch up. But
nah, man, it's all good, buddy. Like I said, it's been a fun ride to see what you guys have been up to, and I look forward to seeing your continued success.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Just stick around for a couple of seconds. I'll end the stream, guys. And whoever showed up, there wasn't many, but hopefully they'll watch this video at a later time because it was early on the East Coast and even earlier on the West Coast. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll get some people watching. But check out the website. Black Friday sales coming up, and look forward to those polymer lowers and the future of the Glock market. All right. So have a great day, guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving and the rest of your holidays. So we'll see you later.